All right. Welcome back. Hello, I'm Agent Zeldra, and on this stream, I do like to do little programming, a little mention of the bytes, a little concocting of algorithms, let's say. And for the past little while, I've been working on a little project in Haskell to try and learn how to build a multi-user dungeon, or basically a massively multiplayer, maybe not massively, but I don't know. An online multiplayer game, kind of real-time, text-based sort of game. And we're doing it in Haskell with embedded Lua and all kinds of stuff like that. So strap in, pull up a nice blanket. It's cold where you are. If it's hot, maybe don't use a blanket. I don't know. You do you. And we're gonna get to it. So we finally got the kind of foreign. I don't want to call it a foreign function interface because it identifies like a particular thing, but kind of a foreign function interface between like the embedded Lua and Haskell, so we can call back and forth between the two, which is great. And continuing on that journey, there is a function we need to add to the Lua API to access database thingies. So we're going to work on that this week. Let's see, without further ado, let's dive into some code. Alright, so we have this little put function. This is a Haskell function that we can export, to the Lua side of things. And then you can call put connection from Lua and put text to the user's connected client, which is cool. We're going to need one similarly for expanding our program here that we're writing here. We have on login was also what we added actually last week as well. This is like a little, when this event happens on the server, this function will get called on login with the connection ID of who just connected. And here we're just writing like a little menu, you know, welcome back, choose your character kind of thing. So right now I've got it hard-coded so that your avatars, or whatever, are here. We're going to turn that into a database call. So what I think I want to do is be able to say, get avatars, connection ID. Or list avatars. Yeah, actually I had to comment it out there. Like that. That should give back a list or table with those avatars. In fact, I'm not even sure. We might not want to use iPairs. We might want to use something else that lets us iterate the keys, because we probably could make the keys of the table the avatar IDs so that we can call, so we can print out those IDs and well, because the way this is working right now, if we use iPairs, it's going to put out the index in the table, like 0, 1, 2, or no, sorry, in Lua it's 1, 2, 3, no zero-based indexing. And the expectation of printing this table here, right, the way this works is like this. Let me just run it. You select one of those avatars by picking a number. And that could work as long as the list of avatars is always in the same order. Right, it doesn't change. Let me run my client. Connect to the server. Alright, so you're welcome. We don't have like the full authentication system built, and we just have like a lightweight one right now where it's like just in memory. So you register, you log in your foobar, right? No avatars yet, empty list. But the idea is you'd pick like, you press like 1 and enter, right? And the server would then go, oh, okay, and like get that, or maybe pick 1 or whatever the case command is, and that would be it. That obviously didn't work because we haven't implemented that function, but yeah, so this could work. Obviously, I think maybe echoing out the actual database ID for that avatar is probably not the way to go. Yeah, we'll see how this goes. Alright, so let's implement the function so that Lua can call it, and just make it return like a fixed table, and then we'll start implementing the persistence and that sort of stuff. I'll make sure chat's pulled up. Apex Twin, Apex Twin again. What's up, friend? Welcome back to the stream. It's been a hot minute. Glad to see ya. Are you still, what are you hacking on these days? Apex Twin. Dong. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, let's implement that function. Then we'll implement persistence. And for persistence, I'm thinking we're going to go like super straightforward and just go straight to probably Sqlite. List avatars. Server state here. I'm going to do a bunch of stuff. Okay, so getting that function from Lua, we've got to get the connection ID, just like we do for put connection, off the stack. Well, we will have to, but we're just going to put a table, a fixed list table on the stack, which I think we have a function for in the library. HS Lua core. Set table. No, there was like a list one. I think, where did I use it? I used it in the command. Handle token list. Yeah, how did it go again? Push list. Okay, pretty simple. We'll do like foo, bar, and say Baz. Yeah, how do I return a result though? I think maybe I can just push it on the stack. push number, push string, and all that stuff. So yeah. And I think you just push it on the stack, I guess. Okay. So let's add that to our export list. Okay, that should be hooked up now. So I think if we start the server again, try it out, it might work. As long as I get my code working first. How do I get... That's probably that. Period. No. Numbers. Oh, we gotta turn number results. 1. Okay. Yes, GHC. Oh, we gotta add that context here as well. GHC. Okay, let's do it. Cool, cool. Alright, GHC's happy with our code now. Alright, let's try it again. Got it. We're connected. Register. Foobar. Log in. The Foobar. Cool. There's our list. 1, 2, Foobar Baz, right? I don't know, connect to 1 or something. And then it calls our other handling function there. And it would be able to handle it, maybe. Cool. Let's make a little commit for that. That's annoying. Okie dokie. There we are. Commit. Great. Yes. Add list avatars to Lua API. Actually, I'm going to reword that. Should have my little work in progress tag on it. Okay. So, now let's get our argument. Connection ID. Which is going to be a maybe. Yeah, we have to validate these. I think this is kind of, let's see. We get the raw connection ID, we get the raw bytes. Construct the connection ID with the constructor without validating it. But we look up in the map of valid connections for that connection ID. So it's kind of validating that it exists. We're not checking. How could we check that user hasn't done something silly? But yeah. No. So I might need like a in that case, that's what it is, but we're not going to be really looking at the connection map here for list avatars. I mean, we could. I don't know, maybe we should, because we would look up the list of connections. We'd find it in the connection map, then we know it's valid. Or at least it's a connection. And what else? Yeah, and then we can make the call into the database, I guess, to like look up the avatars for this connection ID. Although I might want to extract out the whole, check that this is a valid connection ID into a helper or something. But I will probably if I write it up one more time. In fact, let's jump over that. We'll get this. Pop that in there. Otherwise, and message bytes part. Just the raw connection ID. Sorry, new keyboard, so I'm just flying all over the place here. Still getting a little bit used to it. Okay, and here. I think we can just go to lua.error. And that'll like create an error for us on the Lua side, I guess. Let me just try that out. Actually, let's make sure that all compiles and works. That's not used, but because I want to check the error path quickly. No, that's not going to work. Let's keep moving ahead. GHCID, please. Thank you. Thank you. We need to look up stuff. We'll put this up here. That there. Get rid of that. And then if okay. No. Just that. And that. Hey, Twitch TD. Yeah, I'm kind of iffy on the naming, so if you think there's a better one, it's like the characters, you know. I'm waffling between calling them characters or avatars in the game engine. So, It's what the player connects to, like, and controls from their client, right? You control an avatar in the simulation or a character in the simulation. I'm just going with avatar. I don't know. Player? Yeah, maybe. I mean, but player usually is the person, right? I think of. So, yeah, it's one of those things where it's not like wrong, but it's like, I don't know. I could be convinced. I'm just going with it for now. So if you got a better one that comes to mind, that would make more sense. Make this code a little bit easier to read. By all means. Okay, so we push the list onto the stack. Once we know we have a good connection. I mean, eventually we're going to do database lookups and stuff there. Actually, we can't. We can't do database. We can't even do the push because we're in an atomically block right now. We just have to return pure true. And then if it was okay, then we can push the list and return our results. Otherwise, we push an error, invalid connection ID. As a Lua error. And I gotta bring connections into scope. And server state. Okay. I think that'll be enough code for us to try this out. So start the server. And then connect to our character. Come on. There we go. Register the foo bar. Log in the foo bar. Cool. There's your characters. I'm gonna pick one, whatever. That's fine. Now, I want to test the error path. We go here. We check out our Lua code. And instead of using the connection ID you get from the login event, let's say you just put in something, I don't know, because you're a nefarious game developer who wants your server to be broken, or something happened to that connection ID. I don't know, but let's make sure we get our, see what the error side on Lua looks like. Register foo bar, and we log in foo bar. This is where the login event gets created after I send this. Okay. So we get a left Lua code failed on the server side, and all of this call stack sort of thing in the logs. Yeah, that's not super great. We're gonna have to figure out error traces from the Lua side, I guess. Or how we can log these better on the Haskell side. But like, as a game developer, right, I'm trying to like write my stuff in Lua, and like if I see that in my server log, I'm like, what the hell is this? And then that breaks the server as well. That's no good. I don't like that. But as long as everything's happy-dory. As long as you don't go off and like start making bugs and errors and stuff, you'll be fine. Just don't write any bugs. Okay. 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 So that part's good. And next, we need on the mudcode side to log into the or connect to the database and get this list of avatar things. This avatar data that we want to send back to the Lua side. Okay, so for that, we're gonna need we're gonna bring in Sqlite. But first, let's just work in progress commit this. Connection validation. Sure. Let's look at our Cabal file. Oh, Sqlite. Haskell. Sqlite's simple. Like it. Let's see. 4812 base less than. I think that might fit in our bounds. And then we'll create a little table once we got that going for our avatars. And I'll just pre-populate it on this side. Obviously, we're going to have an API. We're going to have an API for creating avatars and then storing it in that database. I wonder if I even have a Sqlite client on this side. Okay, how do Sqlite simple? Okay, you have an open function that runs an IO, and you give it a file name for your database. Cool. Good old simple execute functions. Okay, so we're gonna have to have like some kind of setup system that sets up the database on first run, creating tables and all that sort of stuff. So let's go to our entry point. Not there. The low-level server. Yeah, we'll create our handle to the database here. We'll probably add it to the database, or to the Bakamud server state as well. TCP, talk output. That should be right. the server state, maybe, actually. Okay. So we'll get the server state database. Or DB handle. What does open return me? Connection. We'll put that in a tvar. Okay, we don't got DB. That's okay. We will in a second. We have to import simple. Let's import it here. Qualified. Okay, and then we have to we have a value there, so server state db handle equals something. There it is. Now create a db handle here. And we have to put that in a DB, in a tvar. No. Wrong fishy. There we go. Alright. This is the reverse monad fishy. Alright, do this monad action. Whatever its result return value is, stuff it into this monad action, which is UT by RIO. A value, not a monad, so it doesn't take the container. Stuff it in there. Boom. Okay, so we got the DB handle now in the initial state, which means cradle to commit. Then we can go to mudcode. We can query that thing. Okay, cool. We have some marshalling available to us in the library. PostgreSQL simple does this as well. Simple, like from row to row instances you can write for a data type, and then you can turn it into a row and extract from a row, and then you can do neat stuff with it. So it just passes that parser down to the protocol level, gets those values out of the return data, parses it for you, runs the parser for you, and then extracts your values. Good stuff. All cool stuff. Cool, and then we get some substitution stuff. Okay, so then I can use execute named. So if I was going to write this here, want to put it in like a little handler function. Maybe here. And grab that, we'll put this here. I'll maybe call it do lookup avatar, or like lookup avatars. Right, and so we gotta get our DB handle out. Yeah, we have it, but we're not using it yet, so we're gonna execute named on that handle. Select, I don't know, star. I don't like using star. Usually I like to name all the fields, but I'm not going to put there yet, so I'm just going to put that there. From avatars, where connection ID equals ID. And then my third argument is like kind of a list of, well, constructed of this thing, these things. So that'll be in quotes ID colon equals and something there, connection ID. We have to turn the connection ID we have. Let's get the raw connection ID out. That might be good for Postgres simple. DB. Import it. Import it mostly qualify, but for some of the operators, if I can get it away with it, I can import those directly. It's just annoying to prefix them. So for colon equals, I think we use that. Oh, named param. It's complaining about the type here. It's inferring it, so let's just make sure we set that to be the type. We need this to be a lua.luae. Lua.numResults. Okay, for some reason that's not in scope. Let's pass it in. db.connection, and we'll pass it in here. Oh, it's a TVAR, right. So we need to get that first. Pass it in. And the connection ID. No, I don't want the Lua integer. I actually want an integer. For that, probably. So I don't have to write instances for that. I could... It's going to be int64, apparently. Pull it out here. Pass it in here. 64 comes from GHC or data.int. Yeah. Okay. So I have to lift IO that. And we have to get the actual DB connection out of the TVAR. So it's going to shadow and determine. Oh, the E there again. Our Lua error thing's popping up. Good times. Just gotta add the context. Hey, what's up? Tardus? What is a MUD server? It's an old acronym for multi-user dungeon. It's an old school way of playing multiplayer games online. It's really text-based, and we're learning how to build one in Haskell. So it's kind of real-time, soft real-time, text-based multiplayer game, like a precursor to an MMO. There are still some of them running to this day. Some of the big ones, Aardwolf, probably the biggest. Chia, I played a Chia. Pretty good game. Very interesting mechanics, pretty deep systems it has. We're building more of like an engine, although I might build like a small little mini game we could play on the stream and have running. Have some Twitch integration going. But mainly just doing it to learn how to embed Lua in Haskell applications. So this engine is gonna be scripted with Lua, even though it's written in Haskell. And to experiment and build like a kind of a larger application with Haskell's software transactional memory libraries and its networking and stuff. networking libraries that it has, that sort of thing. So yeah, just a fun little side project, that sort of thing. So we should actually get results from that. And then, depending on what the type of those results are, hopefully we need a list of some things. What are we going to get from there? Okay, so all right, if we have the from row instance, then we can get back like a test field type. Seems like we should probably write that part. Because then we will do this here. I'll map some field accessor over avatar, like say avatar name over avatars. And bring that up. That's not a scope because that doesn't exist yet. So let's go create all that stuff. Where should I put it? Naming things is so hard. I should make it a top level module for now. Equals avatar. They put the ID in their example. Int, maybe. Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah, I don't know. I've been waffling a little bit on the code base. You see me do this in a few places in the code base. I prefix the records with the underscore, the record name, and then like the field name. And that's because of this habit of using lenses that I'm probably going to introduce at some point. But also, we're not using lenses, so if you're not using it, why do it? And so like I like to design my modules to be import qualified, so I don't have to like write all these silly conventions in my code. And I waffle about it is what I'm saying. I don't know the best way to do it. I'm gonna stick with the way I'm doing it so far though, I guess. And we needed a name, so I'll make that text. And then you need to import that text from a type. And let's give it a couple of instances to drive, some base ones. And then we need database.sqlite. And we need instance, two-row, avatar. We pull out the fields and just call two-row on it. Okay. probably it. Oh, we haven't added this to the call file, so GHC isn't checking it for us, which we should probably do. What's up, Checksor? Welcome back to the stream. Everyone calm down. Checksor's here. I'm gonna read a type theory paper. Right on. Do it. The fire triangle. Oh, okay. Type theory. I should probably write that. Because Google's like, huh? There we go. ACM seems like a legit site, right? Oh my god, so the internet is so useless these days. So hard to use. Abstract. There is a critical tension between substitution, dependent elimination, and effects in type theory. Okay. In this paper, we crystallize this tension in the form of a no-go theorem that constitutes the fire triangle of type theory. Ooh. Crystallizing it, so making it brittle or stronger. To release this tension, we propose gamma CPP. I can't remember which that one is. An extension of call by push value. A general calculus of effects to dependent types. Little delta, yeah, lowercase delta. Then by extending delta CBPV to the well-known decompositions of call by name and call by value, we show why, in the presence of effects, the dependent elimination must be restricted in call by name, and substitution must be restricted in call by value. To justify delta CBPV and show that it is general enough to interpret many kinds of effects, we define various effectful syntactic translations. And some category theory, I expect. Meaning enforcing translations. Neat. Yeah, that feels like that's going to involve some category theory there. Oh yeah. Was that oh, who was that? I remember reading about this guy in the Lisp space who created Shen, which does some stuff with sequent calculus. I gotta do more functional programming stuff like this. Some more academic stuff for a bit. Be great. It's a stock hardware. Whew. Has a compiler intermediate language too. Neat. It's awesome. Continuing on. Looks like we kind of do the old, yeah. It's going to be all prefixed. Alright, Checksor, we are working on some persistence. We're kind of like hacking together a little bit of a persistence layer. We want to implement this command we just wrote called list avatars for the game developer. So the game developer can get a list of avatars associated with a particular connection ID that they give us. And that will let them kind of create their login screen or maybe do other stuff as needed. And so we've got the command implemented. We're just implementing the database part that's actually going to like read it from a database. Sqlite. You know, nothing too cray-cray. Okay, so we should be able to that. It thinks it's, GHC thinks it's a hole for now until we import that module. Probably don't need the one like that because we're in the middle of a do block at the moment. We expected list of avatar, but we got unit. Oh, execute named doesn't return a result. Derp. Do I have like a query named? I do. Okay, so I just got to change that to query named. Then we're all good. That's an 8 check, sorry. Now, is a group like that, does it require type theorists and academics and a certain level of mathematical sophistication, or does the group kind of open itself to the public, like rando hackers like me? We're just curious. A little, type curious, you know what I mean? So, at least GHCID thinks it's good. We should, I think, if we run this, get an empty list. And so we try to like log in and run all this stuff. Ah, damn. There we go. Sweet. Okay, so Sqlite errors will totally crash our server completely. It's good to know. But they are, Chexor says, they are pretty open to questions of all levels. 20% of a good understanding of the content. I mean, seems pretty good. That's a good mix. Oh. Yeah, I do talk at and I do go to a regular meetup where I am located. But it's like more of a generalist programmer kind of place. And I'm like the one functional programmer in the whole the whole thing. The whole group, so everyone always like looks at me whenever somebody mentions Haskell. And I like doing talks there, but I generally don't, I try not to do too much in the way of functional programming, but I'm wondering if I could sneak one in sometime. Okay, so it doesn't exist. That's kind of expected. So let's go into our database. I don't have it installed. Great, cool. It's probably just Sqlite 3, right? Yeah. Go. Create table, avatars, ID int, and name. Is it string or text or varchar? Let's put a text. Okay, done. Now it'll be fun. Now that we got the database attached, we can probably actually like revisit the login system, the registration system, and like actually implement persistence for that as well. Oh, right, connection ID is the column we wanted to have in there. I'm so smart. Alter table, avatars, add column, connection ID. Ooh, now this begs the question. You're going to get a new connection ID whenever you reconnect. This isn't a good idea for us to be handing around, to be using for the user. Yeah, we need something to represent the person, the user. Oh, my stream volume was a little low. Let me check my levels. It could just be my mic because I'm sitting far away of it, covering my mouth. And meanwhile, remember. Yeah, I'm not using like a super powerful condenser micro. I'm using like a there's an SM58, which is I don't know. I like them because I don't know. Condenser mics pick up a lot of ambient noise, and it drives me nuts when I'm listening to the streamers. And I can hear like every click and pop their mouth makes. Ugh. Mouth noises are so gross. Yeah, the music volume is. I can definitely boost that if you want more of the music. Alright, hopefully that's a little better. Yeah, that was my kind of thing, is like maybe not too much music so it doesn't overpower the voice. That sort of thing. But I gotta speak up and enunciate a little bit more, that's for sure. Okay. So yeah, I'm rambling just about the design of this thing so far. So I'm just using like connection ID because that's what I got. But we need a better ID to be using, one that's stable, because the connection ID is generated by the client connecting to the server. And it's not an ID, you'll get a new one basically if you reconnect, whatever, right? Whereas you, the user, haven't changed. So I think on the login, we need to fill out the login system. Thanks, Chicksor. Yeah, so I think I definitely got to go back and implement the persistence and like revisit the login system and all that, so we can have a better ID to be passing around. I'm just gonna make this the way it is for now. Just to get this to like kind of work-ish. So we're gonna add a column, connection ID, but connection ID isn't the thing. I'm not even sure that's the syntax for it. We'll put it text as well, why not? Dot tables, schema, avatars. Yeah, that is, okay. They just use Telnet. There are protocols on top of that MUD servers do implement, especially when it comes to like compression. So you'll see things like MCP, I think MCP, something like that, which I haven't implemented in this server yet. I don't know if I will go through that process. I think there's MUD server protocol as well. MSSP. Some of them aren't used as much. Some of them are. But you can get by with just Telnet at first, at least. These kind of protocols add a little bit of extras. Some of them mainly deal with compression and stuff like that, which isn't super necessary in this day and age. But if you want to be like hardcore and like support people that are like on dial-up, that's great. You know, maybe they're playing it on like a slow 3G connection or something on like an ancient cell phone. And we'll support them. Good on you. We could do that, maybe. They also add like some extra handshakey type stuff. Extra, like there's a handshake format in some of them. I don't know if MCCP does it or MSSP does it, but like extra client features can be advertised in it so that you can, you know, use like killed client might be one that might do it, where like you could have different windows for different things that the client knows about as long as it speaks the protocol. Like maybe displaying a persistent map or something like that. That sort of thing. So, but right now this server is just raw, bare bones. It's not super fancy. Okay, so running the server again. Got the database up. We register. We log in. Okay, cool. And we get the empty list. So there's nothing to display there. We could go ahead and pre-populate those rows. I think the initial ID will be 0 or maybe 1. So let's do that. Insert into avatars, some values. Let's do 0, 2, 0. Oh, it shouldn't be text, it should be int, shouldn't it? Drop table avatars, we'll create it again. ID int, name, text, and connection ID int. Okay, insert into avatars. Some values. We'll do 0, foo, and 0. We'll do 1 bar 0 and 2 as 0. Okay. And if we select star from avatars there, Okay, there they are, so that's good. Data's there. Let's run the server, reconnect, and now when we log in on our login screen, we should see that list if all goes according to plan. So let's register foobar again and go through the whole rigmarole. Ah, we don't. We don't. What's going on here? Okay. What is happening there? Let's add a little debug trace in here and just print out what we get back from Sqlite. Yeah, we'll just pop it in here. Maybe I wrote my instances wrong. I don't know. I'd imagine it would error out though if it couldn't parse the rows. Or it's the server ID is like actually one. Let's try this quickly. Foobar, login, foobar. Okay, yeah, that's probably what it is. Empty list, yeah. Okay, no worries. Update avatars. Set connection ID equals 1. Let's do that. Okay, bound connection. Login, bar. Cool, all right. Yeah, instances, okay. Yeah, and so the column, yep, okay, I know how to fix that. That's easy. Change this to a user ID. Once works better. And we'll just put it here, like that. And then like here, like this. And then the front row instance. Should be good there. Okay. Now, we should be good to go. Ooh, bar. There. Coming from the database now. Sweet. Cool, right? Cool. Let's get rid of the debug code. Bam. Bam. Okay. Add avatar and persistence. Okay. We have to change the connection ID thing, but I can do that in another commit. I think this is probably good enough to squash down. So let's rebase this. No. Rework that. Right, add that. Alright, Just create a little list of things we added. Nope. Sweet. Okay. That's great. And yeah, connection ID is not the thing. So let's think about that for a little bit. We don't have a ton of time, but we might be able to get a little bit of progress on that. So let's revisit some of that code, the authentication stuff. We just have auth state here. Great. Yeah, super good. Command. Let's go to login. That's the parser for the commands. Oh, we handle those on the server code. Handle login. Okay. Right. So this is probably where we should do a lookup. Once you've logged in and we've authenticated you, we know you're good. We get your user ID from here. And we put it on the we assign it to the connection. And that way, we can change the Lua API a little bit. So that takes those user IDs instead of connection IDs. And then we'd have to change up the lookups, I guess, for some of the helper functions. So they can look up in the connection map by user ID. But that'll be a little bit of refactoring we might have to do and eat. And this is what happens when you kind of do like the exploratory approach to something, right? Sometimes you take a left turn, sometimes you take a right, and you go a bit of ways, you make some progress, but then you're like, and you gotta go back up a little bit. And try slightly different, but still forward progress kind of area. And make our way towards the goal. Which we are doing, friends. We are doing. Okay. Users. Where do we get a user ID from? From the database. OBS. So I'm gonna have to like dig a little bit more into the persistence now and do some of the database initialization, like set up all the tables, and do migrations and stuff like that. Maybe. Okay, so Bakamud, let's call it user. Create a user. What is a user? It's a person, right? It's a person on the other end of the line, basically, like on the other end of the internet connection. Right, we need to identify that person with an ID. We'll just go with integers for now. Presumably, we could also use users as part of our. And we can keep those concepts separate. I was thinking like the authentication system, like we want to have credentials somewhere. Obviously they're going to be stored encrypted at rest and all that sort of stuff. Do we need to put that in the user object? Maybe not. So let's just use a user ID for now. Just new type that. And we're going to create our database instances for it. Qualified, I like a qualified. Except I'm going to need some of those operators that we like so much. And the from row user. Fmap over the field and construct the user. Thank ya. Add this to the Cabal file. Yes. I should probably be running GHCID, shouldn't I? Because it'll tell me helpful things like this. That I completely ignore. Oh, that's because we don't need the name field thing here. Never mind. Oh, we do need DB. And probably db.field. You tell me you don't have what? What? Oh, no, that should be. You don't have 2-row int. Instances, 2-row units. Yeah, you have to have int. Oh, only. I see. Okay. So it has tuples. Bunch of tuple types. And 2 field. And you have it for int64. Okay. Okay, so let's do it int64 then. An int. Then we need data.int. No, it's saying, oh, okay, this is something weird's going on here. I gotta use only, I think, maybe. Yeah, that's the problem. Okay. Okay, that should work. Oh, yeah, conventions, come on, follow them. Yep. Stage that. Oh, we've got to add the files themselves. Ah. On stage. Stage. Fix it. I haven't pushed yet. is that? Okay. Yep. Go for that. Add a user. Right, we add those. Good. Got user. Okay, got the database instances for user. Great. Okay, so now we can go to the login code. And what can we do here? So we have a username and password. Ah, yes. So we need the username. That's how we will find the user. So maybe we will have the credentials in this object as well. Now we don't need db.only. Now we can actually use the tuples. Boom, and another field. Boom. And then we have to import the type. Change that to a data, not new type. Add username field. Right. Okay, good. And then we're going to look up the user here by username. Before we call the Lua's, before we send the unlogin event. Yeah. Okay, so they update the authentication state. Seems like good enough here. Get user. So usernames will have to be, I guess, unique. Unless we could do the lookup with their hashed password as well. Just put that down here for now, although we'll probably extract it out. So now we need a DB connection, not our server connection. We need that's going to be if we have an atomically transaction here, to probably get that to return DB connection. Var. The DB handle. And then pass that connection in here. Yep. And then get user, it's the DB connection, username. And what are we returning in here? That's probably lift.io that. Our user. a hole there. We need our imports. Sqlite. Simple. And Bakamud.user. Right. Then we gotta bring DB handle into scope, no problem. We just ask for it. Server state DB handle. And then we get down to our hole. Forget user. Sweet. Okay. This will take our connection and username. And it's DB renamed connection. Username equals username. This is where we need the named field thing. Something like that. Plop, plop. Plop, plop. Oh. Where's it gone from? Yeah. Named param, sorry, is where it comes from. It's constructor named param. Oh, it returns a list, does it? Always list. Okay, so we only expect one. Data.maybe has list maybe. And here, then we get maybe user. Can I do something clever with my little reverse fish? What would it be? Let's just write it out the ugly way. Well, this was just a case match. functioning here. Just user. Like enter whatever it is, right? Bakamud server. User. Wait, what? This type's kind of throw me here. How? That's not right. I do not have a list of test users, but chat, if you want to come up with some clever ones, as long as they're clean. Alright, this channel is not marked 18 plus or whatever. Feel free. Suggest some. There you go, Bakamud. Let's go. Let's add it to the design doc. Let's just make a list. Bakamud. Keep them rolling. Where were we? Yeah, this is weird. Can I fmap over you? Shaka baka. Alright, Twitch TV. It's in. Oh, that's why it didn't work, because that's supposed to be list a user, because that's what queries return. I can make it return a user. And here's what I'm going to do. Fmap list to maybe over the result of this, and then match on it. Case maybe user of nothing. Otherwise, we return it. Yeah, the Discworld mod was huge. I think it's still pretty big, too. Top mod sites. At least topmodsites.com. If they're still live or tracking. Discworld is number 3. Oh, maybe not the 90s. At least it was added to this database in 2001. Ah, the website's still up. Oh, that's cute. Based on the Discworld books by Terry Pratchett. Nice. I wonder if you can play as one of the little wee men. That would be awesome. Yeah, potentially still there. Still chugging along. I played a few. I played Chia later on. Let's go with the top mod sites. Dreams of Divine Lands. Played this one a fair bit. Played a Dwarven Monk. The Monk class was pretty neat. All hand-to-hand combat, but it's like based on tattoos and stuff like that to give you different buffs. Played Dragon Realms, I think it's called. Which apparently has been taken up by PlayNet, yeah. This one I played quite a bit. This one had, if it's the same one that I played when I was younger, it's been a long time since I played it, but it had a really interesting and fairly deep combat system. That was like, yeah, like you had flanking combat ranges. It simulated pole weapons, missile weapons, melee. And so like pole weapons could reach farther than hand-to-hand weapons and stuff like that. Which was really neat for the time. Yeah, this one also had a very deep. It was a very deep sim. I enjoyed the deep sim ones. Bakamud I played for a little while as well, which I think is still going to this day as well. I don't know about Dragon Realms. I think it looks like Dragon Realms is still pretty up there. I know what Chia is. Bakamud. This one was probably the longest running one. At least maybe the longest running commercial big one? I don't know. Oh, it's on Steam now? What? What? Yo, that's awesome. That's pretty cool. So you can support Bakamud by their graphical client on Steam. That looks pretty nice. Yeah. That's cool. There's another one on Steam that's actually kind of hacker mud. A hacker game called Hackmud. This one's very cool. You get 2 identities, and it's just about like it uses kind of a JavaScript-like language, and you just hack code and you try to find weaknesses in things and exploit stuff in it. It's pretty fun. So yeah, check that one out. Hackmud's pretty fun. That was a trip down memory lane right there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, forget just user. We have get user. Error. All right. Unless we give the field instance to usernames. Cool. So we get the user object back now in the login step. And connection. Gotta hurry this up because we're almost out of time. I'm just gonna try and finish this up. I'll put it on here. And in64. Let's clean that up. But import data.int. Probably be maybe, because we might not have a user ID until they log in. And backend server. And I'll register. No, network server. Just have to put nothing into there. Okay, no problem. Okay, let's go to handle login. Auth success. Well, we're going to need another transaction, atomic transaction there. Once we look up the user earlier here. And then I can pass it in to this adjustment. See you, Twitch TD. Thanks for stopping by. See you next week. Take care. Happy hacking out there. Success is still fine name. I'm just going to rename it to state. We pass in the user object. And here. Oh, we needed the connection from that. I'm just trying to stuff as much as I can STM-wise in one STM transaction. Yeah, because we can't do I/O inside of it. I don't know if there's going to be like a better way we could do that way. So we'll have to do it in two maybe. Atomically. Grab these cats. Do that, because then we can do user. And that. Update auth state. Check here. Get the user here, and then the connection. Connection user ID. Get rid of that. shadowing. There. Okay, name shadowing all gone. Cool. All right, let's just test this out, commit it, and we'll be good to go for the week. Let's create that user. Let's create the table. Create table users, ID, int, name, text. Insert into users. 0 and first one, Bakamud. Cool, there you go. Checks are. Bakamud's in the DB, in the test DB. Okay, so we don't actually have all the persistence set up for all of the login flow. Oh, okay, okay. Big bot. Calyx. Awesome. Okay. We'll make sure to add some of those as well. Okay. Alright, so registration doesn't create users yet, but it will. But for now, we can just register the Bakamud and log in as it. And login should look up that user object from the database. We'll have to obviously like actually do the proper challenge and attestation and stuff. All right, it's just name, not username. Psych. Almost. But it did the query, so that's great. Bim. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do schema setup and all that sort of stuff at some point. Okay, compiled. Bakamud with boo. Cool. All right. Sweet. We did it. We did it. So the next part will be to add, to be able to do all that kind of stuff. And change the Lua API so that the login event gets the user instead of connection ID and all that stuff. But we can get to that next week. Been a slice, friends. Thanks for hanging out and watching, chatting with me. And tune in next week. I do these streams regularly in my regular scheduled time on Tuesday evenings at 10 after 8 in the Eastern, I think we're in the daylight time zone now. Whatever. Eastern time zone. Okay. And if you follow here on Twitch and set up your notifications, you get a notification when I go online. Give us a follow. It'd be great. Helps out. If you're following my VODs on YouTube, because you can't catch live streams, you know what to do there. Like, subscribe, and all that sort of stuff, and you'll get notified when I post new VODs to the channel. You can follow me on the socials. I'm on the Fediverse on the types.pl server at Agent Ultra. Or you can go to agentultra.com. It's got links to all my stuff, including my YouTube channel, my GitHub, and everything else where the code for this project lives. At least for now. I'm Agent Ultra on GitHub as well. This is Bakamud, so all the code you've seen here tonight. Pachow. So, if you like it, feel free to give a star or whatever. It's all there. And then, yeah, hopefully we'll see you then. Go to the link above my head as well, declarative.tv, if you got a little bit of time. There are other streamers doing things in cool languages, declarative style languages like Haskell, but also Elixir, Erlang, Gleam, all kinds of stuff. And they're looking for an audience as well. They'd be happy to have you. There's also a Discord server that we have. There's a link to it on that website. And there's a channel for this stream. So you can check that out there and chat about all the functional programming stuff and programming stuff in general that you want to talk about. That's all I got for this week. Thanks again for watching. It's been awesome. May all your monads be free, your types check, and happy hacking out there.